tonight. I hope that it will be really helpful for you in terms of your consideration whether or not INVEST or some other year out trainee program is for you, and also if you're a church leader, whether it might be something that will be helpful in your place to have an INVEST student in the future. Let me share this PowerPoint with you and then we'll crack on. Hopefully you can all see that. Is that the case? Are you all able to see that? Wonderful. Let me put it on to display. So INVEST is an opportunity to explore missional ministry, particularly in a Baptist setting in the Southwest, although it has to be said that there are other places that Southwest Youth Ministries and Moreland Southwest operate just beyond the Southwest, so to the north and to the east as well a little bit. But INVEST particularly has been developed with the Southwest Baptist Association and Southwest Youth Ministries. As Paul will tell you, the nature of the course is not with a particular youth specialty focus, but with a missional leadership focus. Where did it come from? Well, a little while back, a couple of years ago, I was involved in writing a report about young adults in the church and thinking about how we could encourage those who are young adults of faith to explore what God was calling them to in the future and to give them experience in a mission context that would be different to maybe the churches that they've grown up in or that they've been a part of at uni. And so amongst the young adults that gathered who put together this report, it became apparent just how important to the vast majority of young leaders a year out had been in terms of their personal growth and discipleship, but also them exploring what God was calling them to next. Some would have said it was actually foundational to their sense of what they were doing with their lives. Not all of them were in Christian work full-time, whatever that might mean. Of course, we are all Christians in full-time work, whatever our context. They were working in various different spheres of life, but actually this foundational year out was really central to them as disciples of Jesus and to them exploring what God had for them next. You can read the report if you want to. I will stick the link in the chat box later, but you can see it on the bottom of the screen there. For tonight, I'm sure what's more interesting to you is kind of who is this for? Well, INVEST is aimed at Christians everywhere who are looking primarily for a year of discipleship, where they'll learn to grow deeper in their relationship with Jesus, and also, as well alongside that, offer them the opportunity to experience missional ministry and explore God's call on their life for the future. It's certainly been my experience and the experience of others who you'll hear from in the room that setting aside a little time, a year, in order to be able to do this is a huge privilege, but also just really centrally important. So that's who it's for. You'll see tonight that our present INVEST students cover a different age range, and it could be for anyone of any age as far as INVEST goes. So I'm aware of the fact that some of you are maybe thinking of folks in your church who are approaching retirement and are looking for something, a structure within which to operate. And we can certainly talk about how INVEST might be a vehicle for them too, in terms of their discipleship and them exploring their calling. What will it look like? Well, trainees will spend a year that's based in a missional context in the Southwest. That could be an established church, or it could be a pioneer setting where maybe there's just a very small church plant, or maybe even yet to be a church that is planted. But the idea is that the focus of INVEST will be exploring, engaging with those who are not yet of faith in the mission of God, and to do that in some creative and innovative ways. The idea is that it will stretch a trainee. An INVEST trainee ought to be someone that recognises that they're going to be stretched sometimes beyond that which they've known before. They'll do that in a way that is guided and in a way that is held well, but it will be hopefully a learning experience by being stretched. The way it works is that there is 32 hours per week where the INVEST trainee is working alongside their mission context, their placement in a voluntary manner, and then 8 hours a week that's set aside for study. I'm going to ask Paul if he'll talk a little bit about how that 8 hours a week might work, and also about the nature of the training program that accompanies the practical placement. So over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Carl. So our kind of philosophy around training is that the best training ground is to have both the theory, but actually a lot of our learning comes through having a go, getting it wrong and trying again, whilst having the theory alongside you. And so all the training is very practical. The way we deliver the training is we have 6 weeks spread throughout the year, so basically every 2 months, where we come together for what we call swim conference. As a part of that, there's lectures throughout the day, kind of looking at, as Carl said, discipleship and kind of building you and your relationship with God, but also really practical hands-on skills for the work that you'll be doing. And as part of that, you're then part of the wider swim family with a load of guys that will be working with young people and children based right across the Southwest. So when we're all together, there's about 60, 65 of us, and there's space for us to worship, to pray for each other. And within that context, everyone's part of like a small group of people, each time getting together to pray for one another. And it's just a sense of family. We're part of something bigger. One of my particular personal passions is that people going through something like this wouldn't burn out, but would have loads of spaces for them to get support, so that you're set up to thrive in the placement that you're based in. So there's lots of different ways that we do that. We have these conferences that happen every 2 months that become like a high point. But then on top of that, we have something called Cluster that happens every week in the local area. So we split the Southwest up into 8 areas. Within those areas, so for example, on Monday, all the guys in and around, I'm going to pick on Kate. So in and around Barnstable in North Devon, Kate got together with Cluster yesterday, and they normally, if it isn't COVID, they'd be having breakfast together, a bit of worship, a bit of training and teaching, and a space to pray for and support each other. So that happens every week near where your placement is. Alongside that, the person who runs that is a swim area coordinator. They're a person on the ground who works with your placement to make sure that if you're interested in doing Invest, that you are being well supported and looked after. If you're the church, they're working alongside you to help support you in having an Invest trainee with you, which includes everything from termly reviews to being available on the phone or for a coffee to chat through any issues as and when they come up. So the idea is you get loads of support as part of the training. As Carl said, there's 8 hours a week for study. Most guys who come into Invest will step into what we call our academy course. And as part of that, you have the 8 hours, 4 of which is Cluster that I was just talking about, and the other 4 is time to work on assignments and assessment that you have to work on. So that's how kind of the training side of things works. And yeah, we're just excited about the opportunity to have people come and be based, particularly in Baptist settings, working in missional context. So that's a little bit about how the training side of things works.
Thank you so much, Paul. Paul will tell you a little bit more in detail about the training program that's offered if you're interested in the breakout room in a little minute. But just as a flavour, training covers things like pioneer ministry. It covers things like pastoral theology, biblical studies, discipleship groups, mentoring, mental health. It covers things like how to hear from God and be led by God. Missional communities. It was my great privilege to teach the guys a couple of weeks ago on radical discipleship in uncertain times and what that might mean. So there's a flavour of just some of the things that are part of the conference weeks. Paul will tell you more later on. The next thing is what could it lead to? It's one of my big passions is that there's a sense of openings, opportunities after things like a year out scheme, a training program. So actually after a year of Invest, there are a number of opportunities that are open to those who are coming to the end. Firstly, it could just be that it's been a great year's discipleship, a great mission experience, and people then are feeling called to fill the blank. It could be university, It could be into work in all kinds of different sectors, but it's been a foundational year. But there are two other opportunities which we'd like to offer for INVEST beyond. One of them is to continue with Moorlands College, and Paul will talk to you in a little bit in the breakout room about the Moorlands College route. SWIM is the Southwest coordinator for Moorlands, and they do a great job of it. So Moorlands have a 3-year applied theology degree, which has got a missional leadership stream. Possibly Kate might mention that in a moment. She's on first year of that just presently. So that's certainly something that is an option at the end of INVEST. And another one would be to continue on in the Baptist family, the placements in the Baptist church. And so there are opportunities to explore what missional ministry might look like within our family of churches and pioneers and chaplains. That when we talk about ministry, it's now quite a broad thing in the Baptist family. We're not just talking about ministers of local churches. Is that, but it's also more than that as well. So there's a number of kind of possibilities after the end of the INVEST year that are open to those who have done it. Everyone's interested in how much it costs. So here's how much it costs. At this present point in time, if you are going to be an INVEST trainee, then it will cost you £1,300 for the year, and plus £100 to £150 a month to cover other costs, living costs, toiletries, mobile phone bills, those type of things. If you are coming to the Southwest from another area of the country, or if you are from the Southwest, then at the present point in time, we are aware of some charitable foundations who are able to give some, possibly up to 50% of the £1,300 cost for the year. Sometimes the place that you are on placement will give you pocket money, £100 to £150 a month. But our hope is that maybe the church that you are coming from might support you in that cost. Either individuals who are prepared to give £10 a month, and we can tell you about ways in which they can give and even gift aid to you their gifts in order to get to the £100 to £150 a month for individuals, or as a church, your sending church, so to speak, for them to give you that money instead. If you are a placement church, the cost to you for that whole thing, so in terms of the weekly cluster groups that Paul was talking about, in terms of the 6 times conferences, the training, the whole shebang, is £3,200 for the year is what it would cost you as a placement. Plus you need to provide accommodation and food for your trainee. In the Southwest, in the SWBA, then we have, for our church context, church and pioneer context, 5 grants per year available of £2,000 each. So what that means is for 5 churches or missional contexts in the Southwest that are not an established church, a pioneer setting, the association will give you a £2,000 grant. It means you as a local placement still have to find £1,200 per year, plus providing accommodation and food for your trainee. But that does reduce the cost down quite a bit, which we hope will give you the ability, even if you've not got a large income, to be able to host an INVEST student for a year. So what to do next? Well, I'm going to suggest that you take a little look at either our page on our website, swbaptist.org.uk/invest, or SWIM's website. So I think SWIM is swim.org.uk. Is that right, Paul? swim.org.uk/invest. The 2 pages are very similar. Go to either one and you'll find some information. If you are an SWBA placement that's interested in expressing your desire to have an INVEST student from September 2021 is the next intake, then there is a form on the Southwest Baptist's website for you to complete. It's not committing you to it, but it's just expressing an interest. Or chuck an email my way, carl@swbaptists.org.uk. Paul, do you want to say anything else just about the what next? Particularly, I'm kind of thinking about maybe placement churches that you will meet with to discuss what the placement might look like, and or for those who might be thinking about trainees as well.
Yeah, I think the key thing for, if you're a church or a missional context thinking about this, then Carl is the first route of communication, and then what that will lead to is starting to fill out a couple of forms that will help to frame what the person will be doing, which will include a job description form, just so that there's a sense of expectations and clarifying that in terms of what you're really looking for someone to be doing alongside you. And we're really seeing this as an opportunity for you as a church to hopefully grow what you're doing in your missional context, but also for you to invest in someone exploring ministry and leadership, and for you to be investing and growing and making a difference in their lives. And then if you're interested in doing INVEST, then the best thing to do is, as Carl said, is to go on to the SWIM or the SWBA website. It will take you to the SWIM applications page where you can apply. Again, that doesn't commit you to having to do it. It just means we can take up some references and do a bit of an interview with you, so we can start to explore where you might want to be based, and then we would work with Carl to try and find a setting which could potentially really stretch and grow you, but that you'd be excited about too. So you would be, both as a church and as an individual, you would be part of that selection process. It's not a case of we would say to either of you, this is who you're having, or this is where you've got to go, but you'd be part of that, working out that process together.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Paul. Okay, I'm going to get us back onto the screen again. If you have any questions, just even as you're thinking now, do feel free to stick them in the box. But what I'm going to do is hand over to Paul now, and I am going to have Alana, Ed and Kate, who I am going to put on the screen as well. Guys, sorry if you don't like being big on the screen, but it's just helpful so that people can see who you are. And Paul is going to ask you a couple of questions, which I hope will be of interest to everybody else to hear what these are. Our INVEST students. If I could give you a big round of applause in the room now, I would, guys. We love you. You're ace. Over to you, Paul.
Some would say they're our guinea pigs because they're the very first ones that we've had. That's not a derogatory phrase, but it's great to have the three of you joining us tonight. Thank you for giving us your time. I'm going to come to Kate first. So Kate is based up in Westward Ho. Obviously, it's all very new for you, Kate, but do you want to just explain a bit of your experience so far, a bit of the context of where you are, and how you've come to it, very briefly, just a little bit about your story.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kate, and yeah, Westward Ho. I've been at the church for 16 years when we moved here, and in that time, obviously, I've got full teenagers who are great, actually. They're pretty good. So yeah, I chose to do the applied theology degree alongside this. As such, I think they kind of went hand in hand in my head when I agreed it all in that. So yeah, we over the lockdown, obviously it's all been very different to what it would normally be, and there's been a lunch club going on in the church, like providing for families around the community and area that have really struggled and felt the pinch from either loss of job or just a struggle with finance, really. So I think we've done about 2,500 meals over the lockdown. Every Monday we give them like a lunchbox for all the kids, and it's been a really good outreach, actually, but just very different to probably if it wasn't in lockdown, we'd have better communication with them and more time with them. So coming out of lockdown, I'd planned to do like a messy church style group with the families every Monday. Like we'd give them instead of having a lunchbox, we were going to give them like a tea and provide them lunches for the week. But for them to come at like 4 o'clock for an hour, and we have a tea together and do some crafts and have a Bible story, and very casual and relaxed, but just getting a bit of God to them. And just sharing together and getting to know them better as a family, so we can help them and be alongside them in their lives, I suppose. But actually this club hasn't started yet in particular, just because of COVID being a little inconvenient for us all. And there's been other clubs. We're going to get going with the toddlers, messy play, and a kids club. So it's INVEST has given me the opportunity to be able to reach out more to the individual ages of the community, with families and youth and children. Yeah. Anything else, Paul? Good.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Kate. Great to hear a bit of your experience so far and some of your hopes as well. Ed, let me come to you next. So Ed's in Wellington. And Ed, why don't you tell us a bit about the training? How have you found it so far? Obviously, it's been a mixture of physical and blended because of COVID, but how have you found that side of things so far?
I found the training is really great. So along with Alana, we make up 2/3 of the academy this year. So September and January conferences have been blended, but the material has been really great. I've really enjoyed learning the topics. So last November. Why am I saying January? Oh, I'm ahead of myself. Oh, it's because I spend most of my day talking about January. November, we had Carl talking about the radical discipleship in the Reformation, and then, which I'm a big church history nerd, probably. And we also had Richard Matcham, who's one of the lecturers, who's the pastor up at Taunton, do exegesis with us. And because I'm of that type of brain, and I'm looking into that sort of pathway of maybe going to Bible college next year, it's really, I've really enjoyed sort of diving into the theology aspect. But I'm also really enjoying challenging myself in doing youth work as well with the church.
Brilliant, thank you, Ed. And Ilana is with us from Axminster, and she's just recovering from an operation and has given up some time this evening. So thank you for being with us, Ilana. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you have been and are going to be involved in Axminster and what it's all about?
So in Axminster, there's this obviously, like you said, it's called the Life Community, and they do food banks for the people. Obviously in lockdown now, it's quite difficult, and I'm hoping to be a part of that too, so that's good. And also we're hoping to eventually, when we get the right resources and the right people, open something for people with all like special needs and stuff, like a cafe. But that's in the frameworks, so we're still in the discussion stage, so we're kind of just getting there. And it's just being in the community, and it's really gained my confidence actually. Like at the beginning I was a bit this is something that I really would like to do, but I'm not really sure, kind of thing. And it's opened my eyes, because on a Wednesday we have job club, and there's so many people who come in who haven't had jobs, and just making tea for them and putting a smile on their face really helped me. And
Brilliant. Thank you, Ilana. Great to hear from all three of you, and I'm sure you'd be open to people asking you questions if they've got specific ones in a little bit. So back to you, Carl, for the next bit where I think we're going to break off.
Thank you, guys.
We're delighted to be able to introduce to you our year-long trainee programme in the Southwest called INVEST. Our desire is to want to invest in you as you take a year out to explore what God might be calling you to in the future. Our church family in this part of the world is engaged in all kinds of different creative missions, from working with those that are homeless and experiencing food poverty, to using creative arts to engage with those in their local community, to using creative tools like Forest Church or Science Church to engage with families around and about. Our placements will offer you an excellent opportunity to be able to explore God's mission and to discern what God might be calling you to in the future as well. This is a gorgeous part of the world. We've got rolling countryside and some stunning coastline. We've also got some incredible inner cities, all with people with very different needs. And so we offer a rounded experience when it comes to mission in this part of the world. Our hope is that as you explore what God calls you to, you might hear his voice and that you might grow in your faith over this year. We're delighted to be able to work with SWIM and Moorlands Southwest, And I'm going to hand over now to Paul Friend, who will explain a little bit about the training element of INVEST.
So we're really excited here at SWM, Southwest Youth Ministries, to be partnering with Southwest Baptist Association on this INVEST project. And for those of you who apply and become based in a Pioneer Baptist setting somewhere in the Southwest, you'll be part of the SWM community. Well, what does that mean? That means that each week you'll be gathering with some other people in your local area who are part of SWM as well. And then every 2 months we'll gather you together for SWM conference, where you'll be part of the SWM community for 4 days, but you'll be on the academy course, specifically working towards a level 3 qualification in Christian leadership. And as part of that, you'll be developing in your character and your walk with God, but also developing skills to equip you for the work that you'll be doing on the ground. We're excited about all that this year could hold for you, so please do apply, get in touch. We'd love to have you with us.
I really hope to be able to meet you this coming September as we explore together the incredible opportunities to join God in his mission in this part of the world.